Man, oh man, what a game. The Philadelphia Eagles hold on at the link and find a way to squeak one out against the Carolina Panthers. They take them down 22-16. And I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, we almost had about 5 heart attacks here in the last half hour. I mean, I had to hold my breath for about 15 minutes thinking, are the Eagles defense actually going to give in and give this one up against the young Panthers team who has had a bad season, a lot of drama, but they've played well the last couple of weeks, and the Panthers hang on. They hang in there, and they make this a game against an Eagles team who we look at as a Super Bowl contender. What just an antsy environment down the end of this game. But the Eagles hold on in the cold. They stay strong, and they get it done and advance to 11-2. And a couple big records set today. The Philadelphia Eagles have tied their franchise record for consecutive wins with 9. So if they can win next week, they will break that record. And Saquon Barkley, despite not having the big, hoorah type of play today, despite not having the 60-yard run, still finds a way to impact this football game and actually sets Eagles records in the making. I mean, Saquon Barkley becomes the Eagles single-season franchise record holder as he passes LaShawn McCoy on the list as number 1. So we got a lot to break down, a lot to talk about in this game. Man, it got scary down at the end. It got scary down at the end. I mean, if you are telling me that you weren't hanging on the edge of your seat, holding on for dear life, I mean, you're lying at that point. But we got a lot to talk about. Welcome in to Eagles Postgame Live right here on A to Z Philadelphia, presented by BetMGM. Use the code ATOZPA when you sign up. And let me know how you guys are feeling in the chat about this game. Welcome on in. If you're just tuning in, do me a favor, like the show and subscribe to the channel. I mean, man, the emotions, right? That final drive, Bryce Young driving down the field, and they're starting inside the 5 because Braden Mann makes a tremendous punt, and he's been really, really good over these last couple of games. So, I mean, they're starting from inside their 5. They're getting penalties. Then they get backed up to the 1-yard line. It's 3rd and 11 after an illegal forward pass from Bryce Young. And, before we move on, I just want to say credit to the Carolina Panthers because they hung in tight in this game, man. They really played a strong physical game. They're a team that has had a really bad season with Bryce Young getting benched, coming back in, just hearing about them wanting to fire their coach and their GM, just all this stuff. And, they've played really good football the last couple of weeks. Maybe we did underrate them a bit. Coming in, we saw that they held the Chiefs, the Buccaneers the last couple of weeks to really tight games. And we said, yeah, well, the Eagles are different, right? They're just that good. And let's be honest, the Eagles weren't that good today. Like, they did not play anywhere near their best game. But you also have to give Carolina their credit because they really played hard and kept themselves in it. But anyway, last drive, I mean, it's 3rd and 11. The Panthers are at their own 1-yard line, and Bryce Young gets backed up. He's scrambling around, almost gets sacked a couple times, and just heaves one off of a leg for 31 yards. I mean, just an unreal play. And I feel like when the Panthers drafted Bryce Young, these are the types of plays that they envision, moving forward. So anyway, Bryce Young makes that play. Couple plays later, it's a 3rd and 7 at Carolina's 49, and I didn't see the final stat yet. I'm still trying to put things together here because it was just a wild finish. But the Panthers went 7 for 16 on 3rd down today. This was nowhere near, I'd say probably the worst game that the Eagles defense played all season. I mean, they were doing uncharacteristic things today. They were missing tackles. They were letting Bryce Young, get to that next level and go through his reads and not really getting pressure on him. So this was not the Eagles defense that we have seen. But at the same time, they were banged up. They were losing guys left and right during the game. So there was a lot of turnover in that defense. There was a lot of guys cycling in and out. But anyway, 3rd and 7, and the Panthers were at their own 49. Then Bryce Young threw it deep. It was incomplete. So the game's on the line, 4th and 7, and they blitz. The Eagles try to bring some pressure, rattle the young quarterback. And what does he do? As he's just about to get hit, he throws it down the sideline for a lobber to Adam Thielen. That keeps the drive going. They move the sticks, 1 minute to play. Keep in mind, they have no timeouts because they had challenged a touchdown in the third quarter. Not really sure why they challenged that. I mean, it was close, but then they ended up punching it in the next play anyway, so I feel like they wasted a timeout there. But anyway, then it's a 2nd and 4. Bryce Young throws it deep down the middle, and at that point, I thought the game was over. He throws it to Goedert down the middle, and I don't know who was on him, but he broke away and probably had a wide open touchdown if he hits his man. And Goedert comes down right around the 5-yard line, but they call it incomplete. The ball hit the ground, and that was when I knew the Eagles were going to win this game. That was the chance for Bryce Young to capitalize, and he just could not make that final play happen. But I'll tell you what, man, going down the final drive of this game, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, this feels just like the end of last season. This feels just like the end of last season. Every game, the Eagles would be in it down to the final couple minutes, and they would choke, and they would give it up. They would let up a couple big plays, and they would just look disorganized and kind of just let it feed in, and give up. So the fact that they were able to win this game shows me that they are not the team from last year, which we already knew. And it shows me that the Philadelphia Eagles have a little bit of extra toughness where if they are with their backs against the wall, they're going to kick it into gear and make it happen. But it was very hard today. And after that incomplete pass, luckily it hit the ground. It's a 3rd and 4 at the Philly 32. Bryce Young scrambles around, throws an incomplete, which brings up another 4th down. And this time, the Eagles finally make a big play. There was a delay of game. It pushed it back 5 yards. And Darius Slay did a really good job undercutting a route, swats the ball down. Big play Slay. And yeah, I'll call him that today, even though, he hasn't been big play Slay all year. He made a couple big plays today to really bail the Eagles out where their secondary was struggling a bit. Just some uncharacteristic things today, especially from Cooper DeJean. I saw him miss a couple tackles. A few times he got just kind of bombarded on the route and just lost Adam Thielen, who, used to be a really good receiver. I feel like he's beyond his years now. But again, man, the Panthers were playing with house money, right? They don't need wins. Actually, they don't want wins, if we're being honest. But they're going out there, they're playing confident. They've been playing good games the last couple of weeks. And the Panthers look to me like a team that in a couple years, if they can keep building this core together, this young nucleus, maybe they could be something. But yeah, Eagles make the big play. They make the big stop. Was it perfect? Hell no. Was it pretty? No. But they get the win. And I know a lot of people are going to speculate about this game and how it went down and, are the Eagles legit and all this? I'm not going to absolve them and give them excuses from a game like this, but usually there is a game like this. Like usually there is a game where the really good team throughout their schedule plays a young, hungry underdog and they have a close game. Have the Eagles had any yet? No, but they do happen from time to time. But to me, the most important thing is the Eagles didn't just give out and give up and let the Panthers win this game. If they did, there would be a completely different tone. We'd be having a different conversation like, oh my gosh, are the Eagles like, are they what they showed us before, So it's hard for me to get overly exaggerated pissed at this game because, again, the Panthers have been playing with momentum. But I will say there are some things that absolutely need to be fixed. And if I take a step back and think about the first half versus the second half, yet again, I mean, the Eagles didn't play that well offensively today in the second half. Usually they get it going, right? At halftime, the Eagles were actually down in this game. Actually, no, they were up. My bad. They scored at the end of the first half, not the beginning of the third quarter. But Eagles went on a touchdown drive at the end of the first half. So they were up by 4. But I feel like we've been in that position a lot where the Eagles are tied up at half or very close. And then they just go on a run in the third quarter, right? They explode. Saquon has a big 50-yard run, and they never look back. That did not happen in this game. It was a different tone. It was a different mindset. And for me, the biggest thing that the Eagles have to fix, looking beyond this game, go to the playoffs, etc. The biggest thing the Eagles have to fix is they need to get going in the first quarter. And today, it almost became an issue where they lost a football game. And I'm going to give my thoughts on it, and I want to hear from you guys in the comments as well. If I had to ask you right now, What is the number one concern that you have about this football team moving forward into the final 4 games and into the playoffs? What is your number one issue? For me, it's that they continue to have a slow start, but I don't think it's all on the players. Matter of fact, it's not on the players. It's on the coaching staff. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean here in just a second, but I got to give a shout out to our game day partner. It is BetMGM. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up with the code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When registering with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So sign up with bonus code ATOZPA on BetMGM and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app and please gamble responsibly. And unfortunately, on BetMGM today, I lost my parlay because A.J. Brown did not have 70-plus receiving yards. And that actually is a great segue into my number one issue with the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is that they don't ever get Jalen Hurts in a rhythm in the first quarter. Now, here's what I mean. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, all right? You come out in this game, and I'm going to go drive by drive just so we can get an understanding, because the Eagles come out and they get a stop on the Carolina Panthers. C.J. Garner-Johnson, who got banged up today, I thought he had a really, really good game. No Reed Blankenship, comes in, delivers a big hit, right? Eagles get the ball, chance to go down, put up 7, put up 3, get some points on the board. And they go 6 plays out in 2 minutes and 46 seconds. The only big play of the drive was a 19-yard run from Kenny Gainwell. And I'm really getting tired of the Philadelphia Eagles not utilizing A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and even Saquon sometimes in the first couple of drives. How come Kellen Moore goes from maybe the worst offensive coordinator ever to the best from one half to the next? They don't do the things that get them in a groove early. I mean, I'm literally screaming at the television week after week after week. Little slant route with AJ, right? Little curl route with Devontae. Just something. Get Jalen in a groove. How come every game Jalen Hurts comes out and starts the game like 1 for 5, 1 for 6? How come they do that every game? Yeah, you started to get Saquon going, but man, feed Saquon, feed AJ. A.J. Brown did not have a target in this game until the third quarter. That cannot happen. I actually wrote it down in my notes here. The first target for A.J. Brown was in the third quarter, and it was, where was it at? Or was it the end of the second quarter? It might have been on that touchdown drive. Whatever it was. Yeah, it was the end of the second quarter. It was a 10-yard pass, Jalen to A.J., and that was in the final couple minutes of the first half. How do you not get A.J. Brown involved until the end of the first half? You essentially didn't get him going until the final couple minutes of the first half. You have Devontae Smith, who is an elite weapon, who just came back. You get him a couple catches. He had a big touchdown catch. Great. But there was a moment where they showed Devontae and A.J. sitting on the sideline, and you could tell A.J.'s pissed, man. And I will say, Jalen had him open a couple times and just completely missed the read. And he tried to throw it downfield for an incomplete and was scrambling. A lot of people are going to be questioning Jalen's ability to read the field after this game. You know, can he go through his progressions? Can he go through his reads and find the open guy? There was a couple times where he went first read, second read, third read, and he ends up dumping it off to Devontae or, you know, Kenny Gainwell or even Grant Calcaterra when I feel like he had AJ. Like, you are going up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, statistically. Have they been better the last couple weeks? Yes. But this team is the worst against the run. They are like the third worst, I believe, against the pass. And you don't use A.J. Brown until the end of the first half. So I just don't understand why the first 15 for this team is never good. It's always filled with screens. There was a play early where it was 3rd and 2. And they draw up a quarterback draw designed run for Jalen Hurts. They got Saquon there in the backfield. Why not hand it to Saquon and let him push one up the gut? I mean, even when Saquon is stopped dead to rights, he creates 4 to 5 yards out of it. So I just don't understand this flip of the switch. And I feel like if you go to the playoffs and you play a juggernaut of an offense and you go down, say, 13-0, let's just say the defense has a bad start to a game, which they usually do, to be fair. The defense usually comes out mediocre the first drive, and then they really tighten up. But you can't go down big time. You have to come out, and I just don't understand what's being said in these film room sessions and these practices. Like, it's easy. First 5, 10 plays, 15 plays, go to A.J. Brown. Get Jalen in a rhythm throwing the ball. Stop trying all these crazy play action bootlegs and, I'm going to throw it off 1 foot down the sideline for, 21 yards. Just make it easy. Make the game simple. You have too many weapons. So anyway, that's my biggest gripe with the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, man, they don't even score a touchdown until the second quarter. I mean, they scored 14 in the second quarter, but, it took a couple big Saquon runs. I mean, he had good runs in this game. Don't get me wrong. He had a couple 11-yarders, 15-yard. He didn't break off the big one, which is fine. But Saquon still carried you in this game, man. 124 yards, 20 carries. And as I said at the top of the show, Saquon Barkley is incredible. And Saquon Barkley, with 4 games to go, has now broken the Eagles' single-season franchise rushing record. He passes LaShawn McCoy and is now above the 1607 mark. I don't know what he has exactly, but 124 yards today. I mean, this is clockwork for Saquon Barkley. And I thought he was great. I thought Kenny G had a couple big plays as well. I feel like they could have used him more as that complimentary back. What do you guys think about Jalen Hurts in this one? I think Jalen made a couple big plays, and he had a really big run on that final scoring drive when he needed it, a 35-yard scramble. It was his biggest run of the season. And I think that was really key for this Eagles offense to ignite. He had the 35-yard run, and where was it at? Yeah, there was a couple completions. I'm trying to find which drive this was. There it is. So it was a Saquon 11-yard run, Saquon 15-yard run. Then Jalen had an 8-yard run himself. Then he took a sack on 2nd and 2, and then he ends up on a 3rd down running it for 35 yards, which got them up inside the 10-yard line, and they end up scoring on a 3rd down. Like I said, everything was just nerve-wracking in this game, man. They couldn't do it easy. There was a couple runs up the middle. I didn't like the play calling in this game. Jalen ends up finding Grant Calcaterra, who's in for Dallas Goedert, on a 3rd down. And thankfully, the Eagles end up going for 2 because the Panthers were called for an offsides. Jake Elliott actually missed the extra point, and we got to get to him in a second. But Jake Elliott misses the extra point. Panthers get called for offsides. Nick says, all right, I'm going to keep the offense out there. And I actually like that call, given the distance to the goal line. And Saquon ends up punching it in. Now, before I talk more about the defense here, I just want to say, man, are you guys concerned with Jake Elliott? And I'm going to read some of the comments out here. Guys, if you have thoughts about this game, comment in the chat right now. Chime in. Gerald says, ugly win, but I will take it. Jamie says, they're not taking this seriously. Terrible tackling, play calling, and Jalen Hurts is an average quarterback. Derek says, slow starts needs to be fixed or it will catch up with the Birds. Eagles Encore says, my number one issue is the play calling. Who comes out and runs play action on the first play of the 3rd quarter? Shaking my head and dumb wide receiver screens. Yo, I was screaming at the TV, Eagles Encore. I was like, yo, can we stop? Can we never throw a screen again? Why do you come out so tentatively in the first quarter, second quarter? You're throwing these stupid screens that never work. If I could ask the Eagles one question, I would say, can you please take out the wide receiver screen and can you take out the Jalen Hurts quarterback draw on 3rd and 2? I mean, that is absolutely inexcusable. But anyway, man, Jake Elliott. Whoa. Jake Elliott is 0 for 5 this season on 50-plus yard field goals. This is a guy who won a Super Bowl as a rookie. He's been one of the most consistent clutch kickers in the NFL. He had the 63-yarder against the Giants years ago. And he has made big kick after big kick after big kick. And you come out of halftime and you're up by 4 points. And the offense drives you down the field, 9 plays, 36 yards. And they set up a 52-yarder. And as good as you've been, Jake, this team expects you to be able to make those kicks. If you get to the playoffs, guess what? You're going up against good defenses. You're going to be stopped short a couple times. You're going to have to make these big kicks in the playoffs when it's cold, when it matters. And man, he shanked that one, not even off to the left this time. This one was to the right. He had that bad game a couple games ago against the Commanders. He absolutely cleaned it up. He's been perfect since. And he shanks one off to the right. He missed by a mile. And then he missed an extra point later in the game. So, I don't know if it's a mental thing with these guys. I don't know if his mechanics are off. I know it looked like a bad snap on the extra point, but you got to make that. Those points could have came back and costed this Eagles team. Later in the game, the Panthers had a 4th down and they didn't end up getting it. But say they kick those points and get the 3. They're right there in this game, man. They are right there in this game. And although the Eagles defense did not play that well, although they were missing tackles and their zone was getting beaten today, and a couple guys just really, they couldn't generate pass rush. They weren't sharp today, right? I'm still not as mad as the Eagles. I'm still not as mad at the Eagles defense because they still made big plays. They still held their end of the bargain. They only gave up 16 points. If you think about the yards that were given up by this Eagles team, if you think about how long they were on the field, it feels like they should have given up more. They gave up 302 yards today. There was 9 drives, but they were really extending these drives. They gave up 118 on the ground. And you look at the time of possession, the defense was on the field for 33 minutes. So, look, man, it's annoying, but I feel like the defense still came through when they needed to come through. And I'm more concerned about the offense than the defense. I'm more concerned about the offense than the defense. You look at some of these drives in this game. A couple of them went for almost 8 minutes. There was a 14-play touchdown drive that went for 7:48. There was a 12-play touchdown drive that went for almost 8 minutes. 10-play drive, which was a turnover on downs. And then the final drive was 13 plays. So, look, man, the Eagles, the 4th down stop was huge. That was huge. And, I don't know. Bryce Young threw a slant route and, Darius Slay had a big time play there on the second to last drive. Looked like Carolina was trying to pick route on a slant on 4th and 2. And, Young got it off quick. And Cooper DeJean did a really good job at missing that. And they kind of just both swarmed the ball and swatted it away. And then on the final drive, Darius Slay made another big-time play to save the game. So I think we got to give credit to Slay. He really saved us today. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Like I said, the Eagles were rotating a lot of guys in. No Reed Blankenship today. Tristan McCollum was in there. I saw a little bit of Rodgers. Keely Ringo, a couple special teams plays. Even Avonte Maddox. That final punt, by the way, which is an underrated play in this game. How about Braden Mann? The Panthers are going to have one final drive, and Braden Mann punts it down to the 2-yard line. It was a 34-yard punt, and he absolutely placed it perfectly. You see Avonte Maddox, who has been struggling for this team, he comes sliding in to catch the ball at the 2-yard line. So I thought that was a really good play. Overall, though, I think, we got to be a little concerned with the way Jalen played today. If you look at the role that they have Jalen Hurts in right now, he's usually throwing the ball 15 to 20 times a game manager, if you will. He threw it 21 times today. He completed 14 passes, and he didn't turn it over. For me, it wasn't about the turnovers or anything like that. For me, it was just about going through your reads, because I feel like Jalen missed a couple guys wide open early in this game. And, the offensive line wasn't at their best today. I feel like Jalen was running around a lot of these times, and, he made plays when he needed to. But overall, it just was not a sharp game. But I blame the play calling and the coordinators first and foremost, because, again, I don't think they got their weapons involved early. I feel like they overthought this game, which I feel like a lot of times, like these guys in positions of power have been coaching for so long. It's like they try to create something out of nothing instead of just doing what works, giving the ball to your best weapons, utilizing the middle of the field. I'll be interested to see the advanced stats in this game, but I feel like they didn't use the middle of the field again. And I think it could come back to cost them if they don't correct it. Chuba Hubbard had a great game, 92 yards on the ground. He's been, one of the best 5 running backs in the NFL. He's forgotten about because of how good Saquon and Derrick Henry are. But, yeah, man, I mean, the Panthers played hard. You got to give them credit in this game. I want to look at the Eagles' penalties. 7 penalties in this game for 40 yards. The Panthers had 7 for 43. I don't want to chime in too much on the refs here, but I'm really getting sick and tired of watching these games with these officials. 2 plays pop up in my mind instantly. Actually, 3 plays. 3 plays. I'm sorry. I'll start with the one at the end of the game that really ticked me off. It was a 3rd and 13, and the Eagles were moving the ball. They're at their own 47, and Jalen throws to AJ. Big-time 3rd down. Probably the biggest 3rd down conversion of the game, and Jalen gets a 1st down. A couple plays later, it's 3rd and 13 again, and Hurts hits Calcaterra running across the middle, and Calcaterra gets brought down. And they show the replay, and the announcers are, what a miss by the ref. And they show the replay, and you see Calcaterra get his whole face mask drug into the ground and pulled over. Now, if that was the Philadelphia Eagles, on the other hand, I mean, they would have called that. They probably would have called an unsportsmanlike penalty. And, I mean, how do you miss that call? That would have completely changed the game. The Eagles probably could have ran it out at that point. How do you miss that call? You could have put them in field goal range. So that's one play that I'm thinking about. Another play was earlier in the game where Jalen Carter, I believe it was Jalen Carter, was running right up the middle trying to get to Bryce Young. And they had paused the play because they were showing something with the route. And you see Jalen Carter literally getting held again. Jalen Carter gets held 10 or more times per game, and there was not one call today in favor of Jalen Carter. Again, just like last week. Just like last week, we talked about it. They literally stopped the frames and showed 8 different plays where Jalen is getting held. And once again, I felt like the same thing occurred today. It happens every week. I don't know how to fix it. Do you get in the ref's ear? There was a couple times they showed Sirianni getting in his ear. Does Jalen Carter start flopping? Well, that takes me to my 3rd call of the game, where it's a 1st and goal, or I think it was a 1st and goal, maybe 2nd and goal. And Jalen Carter, actually, no, they were getting ready for 4th and goal. And Jalen Carter, yes, he did flop a little bit, but he takes a bump from Carolina and he hits the ground. And it looked like he tried to flop. Ref standing right there in front of him. No call. Okay. And then right before halftime, which I appreciate, Milton Williams, as the Panthers are snapping the ball just for a QB kneel, Milton Williams gets in there and he gives the center a bump. Maybe a little retaliation from the previous one on Jalen Carter. And, then the Panthers start getting in a shoving match. I actually would have been cool with the Eagles getting a 15-yard penalty there because it's not going to matter, right? There's 5 seconds left in the first half. But Milton Williams got a little aggressive. Then he gets shoved from behind. Refs looking right at it. No call. So, again, I don't want to just, harp on the officials, but I feel like every week the Eagles get at a disadvantage when it comes to the penalties. And anytime there's just a little, just something very nuanced, the officials can't wait to run out the midfield and call it. But when it's for the Eagles and it matters in a big situation, nothing. Absolute silence. And if you look at the numbers today, yeah, both teams had 7 penalties, but there were some really big key missed penalties for the Eagles in this game. And I'll leave it at that. What do you guys think in the chat, man? Ishan says the refs suck. Jim says nailed it. They overthought this game. Myson says the ref was standing right in front of him. Exactly, man. Exactly. Jester says the refs were looking right at it. Exactly. I mean, if we're seeing it at home, you're right there in front of it. How do you not catch that, man? How do you not catch that? How do you not catch that? Charles says ref was there on the face mask. Eagles says refs need to be fined or something. I agree, man. I agree. I know there's going to be a lot of conversation this week about can Jalen, be the quarterback to take this team to the next level? Can he win a game with his arm? Games like this don't give that argument a lot of validity. Like, Jalen's going to have to make some home run plays. He made the big plays when he needed to, but this Eagles team constantly makes it harder on themselves. So that's where I'm at. I feel like if Kellen Moore and this offensive coaching staff would get Jalen in a rhythm early, I feel like it would just roll right into the flow of the game. You know, use AJ, Devontae on the first drive, get these guys going rather than having AJ get his first target at the end of the first half. It doesn't make sense, man. Do you know how many teams would be out there dying to have an AJ Brown or Devontae Smith? And it's like the Eagles get behind and then they like get in panic mode and they go, oh, okay, we got to use everybody. We got to actually do what works to make sure we can stay ahead in this game. Today, it almost bit you. Almost bit you in the behind today. But, you know, thankfully you held on to get the win. That's what I'll say. Otherwise, this could have been a very ugly game. And like I said, going back to the defense, I think they just did uncharacteristic things today. I don't know if it was the cold weather. I don't know if they got a little bit complacent, but they were missing a lot of tackles. You know, they were missing Bryce Young in the backfield. And I just feel like there was a lot of opportunity to put this game away earlier than they did. Once again, though, shout out to Saquon Barkley. He sets the Eagles' franchise rushing record. What do you have, 124 today? And he came into this game with 1499. So that means he'd have 1623. So he did beat it. I mean, Saquon's an incredible talent. The goal, and I want to touch on this before we get to a couple more of your questions and move forward here with wrapping this one up. But I don't care about this, you know, NFL rushing record in comparison to the Eagles being healthy, getting to the playoffs, and winning playoff games. I understand that Saquon has an opportunity to really do something special here. And I mean, in a day and age where running backs aren't even valued like that, imagine him winning the NFL rushing record and beating Eric Dickerson. I mean, that would be incredible. But if you're going to do it at the expense of his health, then no. And I think Saquon would tell you the same thing. Now, depending on what happens these last 4 games, I mean, the Eagles could have a chance at the number 1 seed. It's an outside chance now, but if there's still opportunity to play for that 1 seed, then yes, I think you run him, you play him like normal. But if you get down to that final game and, you know, it's already locked up, you're the number 2 seed. No, I don't want to see Saquon out there to try to get, you know, 150 yards to beat an NFL rushing record. And that's just my personal opinion. Some people may disagree with that. I'm pretty sure Saquon Barkley would take a Super Bowl trophy over winning the NFL rushing record. And I think that should be common sense. But we'll see how they manage him. We'll see what they can do. Like I said, Kenny Gainwell had a couple tough runs today. So they still have another weapon back there as well. You got to keep Saquon healthy at all costs. What else do I got? What else do you guys think about this game, man? I mean, I think it was a, you know, people call it a trap game. It's hard for me to really see into that trap game mentality. I just think the Panthers have been playing good. You know, sometimes you have a team that's young, playing with house money, momentum. For example, a team like the Carolina Panthers who can go out there and they can afford on every 4th down to go for it. They went for 5 of them today. And they went 3 for 5, you know, because they don't care. It's not going to bite them. They know their season is done, right? So they're out there playing with a lot of confidence and just having fun. Whereas the Eagles know what's at stake. They're playing tense. And they just weren't sharp today. They just weren't sharp. Jesse says, even the commentators say they got away with one. Derek says, a win is a win. Philadelphia Life says, we have great receivers and a quarterback who is Stevie Wonder. Jalen is average and people need to stop defending his pathetic arm and eyes. Jim says, agreed, need better play calling for us to get in a rhythm. Terrence says, the referees this season reached an all-time low. I agree, Terrence. Not in this game. Jalen Carter has been held all season long. Time to take a long look at their overall performance. Something had to be done about it or the game will be a joke. I agree 100%. And I don't want to be the guy to come on this show every week and, you know, just give you complaints about the refs, but I just see it every week, man. And I don't want to get to a playoff game and the Eagles end up getting screwed by a penalty and that loses their entire season, you know? And I agree. It has been in other games as well, not just the Eagles, but Watching some of these other games, like I don't know where they get these guys, but man, they need like new prescriptions on their glasses or something. I don't know, man. But yeah, I don't want to, come on here and say the Eagles played a tremendous game or anything like that. It was far from it. I'm happy that they got the win because I feel like at the end of last season, this team would have lost this game. But what I will say is, number one, the Eagles have to go back and look at the last 5 to 6 games in their first film session this week. I mean, I don't know how much more obvious it can be. Like if I asked anybody watching this show right now, or I asked anybody on Eagles Twitter, or I asked my own, father watching the game, like anybody could tell you what this team needs to do in the first quarter. It's not like they try to target AJ and Devontae and they give Saquon 5 to 8 carries and they just don't play well. They don't give them the ball. You know what I mean? It's simple. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it, man. 3rd and 2. Why would you draw up a design quarterback run? That makes no freaking sense. It never works. 1st and 10, you come out with a wide receiver screen. Doesn't make any sense. Use the entire field. Get this defense to crawl up. And then you bite them with the deep one. You beat them downfield. It's really not that hard. Jalen's deep ball has been pretty good this season. But then again, it also is on Jalen because there was a couple times the broadcast pointed out and some of the reporters at the field who said, yeah, Jalen had AJ wide open. So I would have to go back and see the game film tomorrow. But this team has to get off to a better start. It is going to bite them eventually. I think they got a scare today. You look at the final games here, Pittsburgh, Washington, Giants, Cowboys. I feel like the Eagles should be able to win these games. I feel like they should be able to win out, run the table, which would be pretty crazy. Imagine them being 15-2 and not getting a number 1 seed. That would be wild. But now is a good time to really correct what you have to correct. So that way you don't slip up on one of these games. Because keep in mind, the Vikings are right there too. The Vikings are there. Obviously, the Detroit Lions, the Packers are in the mix. You don't want to slip up, man. You don't want to slip up. King says, do you think the height of the offensive line might be an issue for Jalen Hurts? It seems like he has a real hard time seeing downfield because he's too short. He's afraid to throw it in stride because he can't see. Tom, I feel like that question has come up a lot, and it's a good point. The offensive line of the Eagles are just freaking towers, man. So I hear what you're saying, but you got to find a way to play around that. You know what I mean? I feel like good quarterbacks are just going to find a way. I know the Panthers' offensive line isn't that big compared to the Eagles, but Bryce Young is what, like 5'11", 6 feet? He had no problem using the middle of the field. I feel like it's more of the routes that are being run. I feel like it's more of the play calling, but I do agree Jalen has missed some of those throws, and I just think they need to get him into a rhythm. I mean, a quarterback has to be able to use the middle of the field however he can. I mean, and it looks like Jalen does. Here's my thing with Jalen. He fixates on one guy from the beginning of the play. So maybe the offensive line is in his way, but from the start of the play, you can see Jalen drop back. He's got his eyes locked on one receiver. For example, on the touchdown, right? A.J. Brown was wide open over the middle of the field, and he's just looking at Devontae. He missed A.J. I mean, if that ball was not completed, who knows what happens, right? So I just think it's more of like a mental clock type of thing. And I feel like last year really messed Jalen up a lot because he didn't have good protection and he was all over the place. He was chaotic with his throws. And the coaching staff last year did not get him into a rhythm either. So I feel like it kind of messed up his cadence a bit. But he's got to be better at making these reads and finding everybody. You got to utilize the whole field. That gives you the best chance probability-wise to go out there and complete passes. And there's going to be a game where Jalen has to do it. If there is a game where Saquon ends up getting stopped, Jalen's going to have to make these big plays, and he can't play the way he did today. So whether it's that, I know people have talked about his arm and the speed of which he throws the football. Sometimes it doesn't look sharp. At some point, there's things you got to be able to live with, right? And we've seen Jalen at his peak a couple years ago. We've seen what he can do, but you also got to have the right system. And I think it all just kind of intermingles together. So we'll see what they can do. I'm cool with Jalen being a game manager. I feel like that's what they have him doing right now. But they can't do the rest of the things they did today that almost cost them this football game on both sides, on offense and defense. And yeah, man, they got to get off to a better start. They got to get off to a better start. King says, standing in the pocket, he can't even see over his own center, but when he sees pressure, he likes to run, which is why every time he drops back, he gets tackled for a loss. I'm cool with Jalen running. I've never been one of the types of Eagle fans who say, well, don't let Jalen run. Don't let him scramble. I think that is a unique element of his game. I think it presents another challenge to the defense that they have to game plan for. Now, would I prefer Jalen not to run 15 times a game? Yeah. I think you're seeing that with the Ravens this year as well. You want to keep your guy healthy, but if you are keeping him healthy, I think he also has to be able to go through these reads and make these throws, which he also has struggled with. So I think there's a balance there that you have to find, but we'll see how it plays out, man. Eagles lucky to squeak by in this one. Thankfully, the defense is able to come through, and Bryce Young missed a couple big plays, but now you got a bit of a scare, right? So you got to wake up, and you got to come out next game. You got to shoot right out of the gate. You're going up against Pittsburgh, which is a good team. I believe, did they win today? I know they were up at one point. Let's see if they won this game today. Yeah, the Steelers beat the Browns. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are now 10-3, and they are a tough defense as well. They're going to be a good test on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to come right at Jalen Hurts. A lot of guys who can make plays. It's going to be important to start off quick next week. Russell Wilson and that team is rolling right now. And if you come out like you did today, you're going to get beat. So that's where I'm at, man. Congratulations to Saquon Barkley. He is the new Eagles single-season franchise record holder for rushing yards. The Eagles have tied their longest win streak in Eagles history, with 9 games, and they have a chance to make it 10 next week. Got to clean up a lot of things. Can't be complacent. Knowing the mentality of this Eagles team, I don't think they will get complacent, but they also have to be healthy as well. Defense has to get back on their horse. And I think this team will rebound and play a lot better next week. So those are my thoughts, man. As always, I appreciate all of you for tuning in to the Eagles postgame live show. I'm RB. And if you want to do me a huge favor, come to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. Or if you're already here in the YouTube chat, hit that subscribe button and help us get to 8,000 subscribers. This one's presented by BetMGM. Use the code ATOZPA. And Eagles got to stay strong, man. We'll see what they can do. Give me all your final thoughts in the comments section. Thank you all for being here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and I will catch you on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Peace.